ITILITE is the new age digital travel management company and is also unique for being the only truly integrated travel and expense management platform in the world. Currently operational in India, US, and Southeast Asia, ITILITE has recently been awarded the Best T&E Software for 2022 by G2. A very warm welcome to all of you to the first episode of Season 2 of our Fireside Chat series, Top Draw Travel Talks. I really appreciate all of you taking time out this afternoon to attend this live session. Today's discussion is on how the third wave of COVID-19 has impacted overall business travel. And our host today is Mr. Ashish Kishore, who is advisor to ITILITE and partner at Signature Journeys. Ashish was also previously the MD at Amex GBT and country head at Donata, an alumnus of the Harvard Business School, and with a career spanning more than 25 years, he's a veteran in the travel industry. So without further ado, I welcome our host for today to take over the proceedings. Over to you, Ashish.
Hey, thank you, Vijesh, for the lovely introduction. And thank you, everyone, for joining in the session. I know it's Friday afternoon, but I'm very excited with the season 2 of the Top Draw Travel Talk. I think our first session went off very nice, and we uh, gained a lot of appreciation from the attendees, largely because we could deliver tangible values to them and they could take away key learnings from our conversation with our guest. Keeping the same spirit alive, the second season is also going to be in the same flow. We're going to bring you some great guests. Uh, However, you would see some nice new creatives, some nice new format. We are hosting this on Friday instead of a Wednesday in the first session. So I hope you guys enjoy this. And any comment on or any thought on the new format, please feel free to sort of share with us. Uh, Coming back to the topic of conversation, travel, as we know, is now reviving. The third wave has receded. But we wanted to understand what is the impact of the third wave on travel altogether, because it's not just the waves we are talking about. It is how did we tackle the third wave, especially because we were now better prepared for it, and this would set trends of how the overall corporate travel would evolve. We also kept this topic purposefully around corporate travel because we know that most of you would now need to take concrete steps within your organizations, and we thought that will be very helpful to you. And in the same spirit, I'm really happy to introduce Ankush to this forum, who's our today's guest speaker. Ankush is like an old friend of mine, and we've been together in the initial phase at yatra.com when we were setting it up. Ankush and I have gone a long way, sharing many knowledge sessions together. He moved out of Delhi about 4 years back. He's now working out of Pune, uh, and he's working for Cummins, which is an American organization, a global power leader. But in Delhi, Ankush worked with organizations like HCL Comnet, Yatra, Ericsson. So he has a wealth of knowledge. And we thought he would be the right candidate to come and speak to us about, speak to all of you about the corporate travel. Ankush has two kids. Son is in 11th standard. He's preparing for defense. His daughter is studying in class 7th, and they have a beautiful pug named Oscar. Ankush, just a fun fact, loves his during his free time, take care of his plants. He's very keenly studying hydroponics and aquaponics, and he's also worked in his succulent multiplication over the weekend. So let me welcome the guest of today's Top Draw Travel Talk, Ankush.
Thank you, Ashish. So I think you gave a wonderful introduction right from my professional journey, position which we have, and family and all the aspects. So lovely, and thanks everyone for attending this session. And I hope that we will be able to deliver what is expected. So thank you, ITILITE team, and all the participants.
Oh, thank you, Ankush, for joining in. So just before we straight away jump into our question and we get serious about the conversation, how has been the third wave and the scenario around this?
So everybody was. So I take all these phases as different reactions what we have experienced. So if I talk about the first one, it was totally unexpected and people were not planned. Uh, Not just the travel industry, I would say other industries, people, politics, governments, everybody was not prepared. Second one was a very deadly, and I have seen many people losing their near and dear ones in that way. But third one, I think um, we as an organization are more prepared in terms of what protocols to be taken, what are do's and don'ts, what kind of approval system need to be followed. So I think that that was just an additional piece of learning which you have received, that the length of pandemic can get stretched to this big also, rather than just 6 months or a year. But as an organization, I would say that we were trying to keep all the measures in place to ensure that our people are traveling safely during that period, be it with our different suppliers or at any aspect of the travel for that matter.
So, what I'm getting as a message is, Ankush, that in the third wave, we were more prepared to handle the disruption, and we handled it more maturely because it didn't came as a shock and awe to us.
In addition to that, Ashish, basically the kind of vaccination level which people have. So if you talk about my travelers, my organization, we have close to 99% vaccination already in place for our travelers. So that way, I think the herd immunity is already being developed. People are more, careful about the do's and don'ts. So the situation was not that bad, but it used to be in earlier two phases.
No, excellent point. Yeah, I totally get it. I think it also gave us a lot of confidence because we got vaccinated. So just in traveler confidence as such was also pretty high. So in the same context, Ankush, now as we know that the third wave has receded and the world is now preparing to open up, I'm very sure uh, the international commercial flights will also begin very soon. Domestics, capacity is growing. We are also looking at a couple of new airlines launching. How is travel manager community as such is approaching return of travel?
So because of all this experience over the last 2 years, I would say it will not going to come up, like you said, return is not going to be that fast. People will be very, conservative whilst, going for travel. So, like the duration of trip has changed, the pattern of hotel which have been chosen by the travelers or preferred is totally different. You are now looking at premium properties which are taking care of your hygiene and everything, less touches while doing a check-in or a check-out. Those kind of things have been taken care of, and as a travel leader, you need to send across the message that okay, we have put all these measures well in every place, and we are working with our suppliers so that you are also confident that when your person traveler is traveling on a business travel, they are safe and secured. It should not be like okay, just because it is saying that okay, you are allowed to travel, so everybody will go up and take charge of it. Secondly, I would say right now the scenario is more towards how you want to travel. So which kind of mode of transportation you are doing, the place you are going to stay, and all that stuff. Earlier, it was just like why you want to travel. The first question was that, but now we are talking about how, because we understand that over a certain period of time you are losing that face-to-face touch with your customers, distributors, and all, and especially being from the product industry, like we have engines and all that. So it is imperative that our people should go with confidence, and then they meet their partners.
Right. So how has become a very important aspect of opening up of travel?
Yes.
Okay. And is there any preference of any particular mode of transport, say road transport over flight for a shorter duration? Is that what's preferred or encouraged?
Yes. So for short travels, like if I would say less than 300 kilometers, we do take road transportation also, because that is like your own personal space, and then we have better control. But Ashish, at the same time, I don't want to say that traveling by air or rail or any other mode is not, that risky. So you are taking precaution at each and every place you are, using that mode or your stay. Anything and everything, you have to be little bit. But earlier, like we used to tell them do's and don'ts and all those things. So
Right.
people were not aware. But now it is like coming naturally to them. Okay, I need to use sanitizer. I need to wear mask all the time. I don't need to shake hand. Better use the, namaskar and all that stuff. So I think people are themselves taking that step. But yes, you cannot say that 100% of your traveler population is always ready for that. So as a travel leader or my team, they need to make sure that they are stepping in as and when required.
Hmm. So, okay. So, what I'm getting is that there is an sort of enlightenment of the traveler community around safety and security measures, which of course the travel managers community was harping on for years, that please take care
Yes.
of your safety and security. So that is now that sort of responsibility is now lying with both the sides. So that's actually a very positive move from that direction. But I'm also very curious to know that what are the permanent shifts in behavior? Some are temporary, as we know, but what behavior change in traveler community do you think is permanent?
So I think as a travel community, we have always seen that people are more compliant towards while they are booking their air tickets.
Hmm.
But for hotel fees, they used to compromise. I think that going forward, there is a permanent shift in the kind of property they are going to stay. They will be looking at more hygienic and better place rather than just, hanky panky and just looking at the budget of their view and, stuff like that, because they want to use the cost. But now they will be looking at value for money.
Hmm.
So that is very much there. And like I take care of the ground transportation piece also for business travel. People are more particular about the hygiene, the sanitization of the cab, the frequency, the temperature of the person. And the moment they see that there is a fever of any sort around that, they start taking the precaution rather than, waiting for the things to happen, turning bad, and then going for the firefighting kind of thing. So they are well prepared, and that is something which is, I think, permanent, getting into the behavior of the traveler.
And so this is from the traveler side. From the travel manager community, which is the role that you play for Cummins and your peers in the industry. What is the permanent shift on your side? What you would do and what you would not do moving forward?
So Ashish, I will be working more towards the compliances. There has to be lesser number of exceptions in terms of, like I just mentioned,
Hmm.
stay, especially because now you know that in case your person is not staying at a property which is into the program, it will be very
Hmm.
difficult for you to track and then sending the help
Right.
person, how you want to get them back, because we have seen that during that period people got stuck in remote areas, and
Correct.
to bring them from that place and with that kind of health condition, it was
Hmm.
very difficult for us. So I think people are not now that they are not that adventurous now.
Hmm.
So they're not experimenting with their travel. They are trying to get. And so for a travel manager in that aspect, I think now it is my duty also that I will lay down the clear guideline with less number of ambiguity around it. I
Right.
saying that okay, in exception you are allowed, in exception you are allowed to go for a deviation.
Hmm.
So need to lay down a very clear policy that if you want to go for exception, then whom to get into touch with. Not just a travel team, maybe I need to get in touch with my HSC team, medical team, my leadership, and all that stuff. And if required, I can go to that property in particular also. That okay, my guests are going to come to your property. Can you raise your service level or quality bar a little bit higher so that my people should. So my duty as a travel manager to bring those properties, those partners into the program, the parameters, the quality parameters which I'm going to measure them upon are little more stringent now. So I will
Hmm.
be taking care of all that parameters. They should be in place before I say that, okay, you are my partner and we are ready to go do business with you.
So does this mean that the relationship between the business and the travel providers, as you mentioned, is now evolved, and there is a new normal of sort of collaborating rather than just a buyer-seller relationship? Because Ankush, they all have been impacted during COVID, right? So we can't just keep demanding higher service without paying higher money. So what's your thought on that?
Ashish, personally, because I correlate myself with the travel fraternity more, although
Right,
with the corporate travel side also. But my position is like to keep a good balance, a mutually beneficial relationship between the travel community, be it a hotel, airline, or a cab service provider. So what we have done is we have asked them to increase the kind of service they are going to deliver to us. It has
right,
escalation fee and considering all those measures in place. But if I talk about squeezing them a little bit, because we have that habit of asking for a 5% or 2% or 10%
correct,
reduction, we can from the industry always. But this time I think it will be a little bit different. So suppose if I talk about even the biggest piece of my whole spend with a partner like the TMC, we decided to continue with that. We decided to continue with the airline at the same level of contract. We decided
right.
to partner with the hotels. We got in touch with them and make sure that we are doing webinars across this period, so that we are not losing that touch. The personal interaction in this industry is very much critical.
Hmm.
And I compare that with my earlier experience, be it like let's say Latin or North American or even European, their interaction with the supplier is a very professional term. But we Indians always believe in having a personal touch. So you talk about their family, you talk about their well-being. You are very so when you see that, okay, especially in the hotel industry when they got a salary cut, or you have seen hotels getting closed down, people are getting unemployed. So somewhere, you also feel that pinch that, okay, how I can support them, what best I can do that. So I think as a travel professional, I can just help them out by not squeezing them for at least a year or so that once they come to a certain level and they are seeing that their business model is sustaining enough, then we can think about cost saving. Cost savings are always going to come because business is always there. But doing that at this point of time is, I think, somewhere not right.
Oh, that's a wonderful thought, and I commend you for having that feeling, Ankush. But for our listeners and participants, it's a very important takeaway. Look at, and we've heard similar themes repeating in our earlier sessions also. During the revival, look at your travel partners or the service providers as your partners because they are delivering that service. They have equal risk of COVID or any other disruption. So be sensitive of that fact. And as Ankush rightly said, once the volume returns, we can always, demand better pricing, squeeze them depending upon your procurement or negotiation strategy. But having a human face to partner development is very, very important uh, as the travel revives, and it should be equally part of your policy. And Ankush, just to reiterate your thought, many of the global travel leaders that I've been engaged with in the last 1 year, most of them echo the same sentiment. So it's a very welcome thought all across the board.
See, Ashish,
Uh,
the point is very simple. We guys are here despite so much of automation is because the value of human touch is always there in our industry.
hmm,
We will lose that, then in future maybe we will also get removed from the system because everything will get automated and you are assigning everything, you are thinking this on a logical terms and not by your heart or applying your little sense towards the things. So I think that is very much because of sustainability of the whole model, community model.
Absolutely perfect. So that it's nice that you've closed your conversation with towards sustainability, partnership, ethnicity. I think diversity. These are certain topics that become core to any travel policy. The next question I wanted to ask you, Ankush, is that now I'm sure you must be working on creating a new agile program for next couple of years. And I think most of our participants would also be asked to do the same, or they would ask their travel companies to guide them on that. So, what are the elements that you are introducing in your travel program? Of course, we know it, we need to make it more agile and responsive towards newer disruption. I think that should be some of our key takeaways in this session, and we'd love to hear from you on that.
So Ashish, I think it will be good on my part to pick up that word agile from your side itself,
That's okay.
which is very much required. You don't know what is going to happen next time. So talked about the health risk which just happened, and now we are talking about the global scenario where Ukraine and Russia are fighting with each other. So I think that you need to be a little bit careful about how flexible is your policy actually, how well you can turn and twist, and how well you can manage the program overall. So that has to be there. You need to work around your policy, and luckily, this is the time when I'm supposed to review my policy. But I think going with this recent experience, we need to look at those reviews quite often on a regular intervals because things will keep on changing. And I think you need to be very dynamic in your approach in terms of that. So during this period, if I talk about the key takeaways which we have, um, so uh, corporate commitment towards sustainability. I just talked about the sustenance of the model in itself. Um, Lesser number of players, that means you are going to pay higher amount in a future things like we have seen in the telecom space. So government was funding and all that stuff. Same way at a local player, what you can do is you try to ensure that your partners are having a fair share of business, fair amount of money is going to them for their services so that they're sustaining. At the same time, if I talk about on the environmental side, we need to be little bit more having understanding about your CO2 emissions. Like many leadership people are taking those kind of oaths where they are promising for a reduction in carbon emissions. So we have also taken that step. For example, we went ahead with the electric vehicle introduction in our fleet. So a couple of my duties, like 30-40% are already moved to that side. Plus, when I talk about the last mile, so you are going to take, because that railway network can get you to major cities easily. So you just make sure that you are giving a good class of travel to your employees, and then you are allowing them to use that and travel. So it's a mixture of all that, and you need to look at the sustainability of your whole business travel program. If I talk about your partnerships, we have seen that you need to work with your HSC team. your security teams and medical teams, they are the ones who actually help you around to turn around things and take charge and ensure that you are having least number of loss during that time in terms of your people, human resource especially. They have taken care of, and that kind of things are always remain in employees' mind. They think about that organization, that okay, this organization was standing behind me when I was in need. So you need to come out of your own space of the travel team, or maybe if you are reporting into admin or a facility team, you need to start working with the other teams also in a good partnership. Balancing between safety and cost. So yes, here right now the focus is not too much on cost. So I would say 30% I will be looking at the cost for sure, but safety I will be looking more, 70% at least. So I will be talking about, okay, I'm taking better class of hotels in my program, a better kind of fleet. I don't mind paying a little bit extra in terms of if there is a hygiene which is maintained in the cars. The driver is ensuring, if required, if the situation go bad, then PPE kits, and your vendor should not be thinking, this is the kind of situation I should be asking for more money. There should be a mutual understanding at that time. Spend optimization with compliance. So I will ensure that my people will be staying in those properties which are in my program, so that after this relationship, when the good time will come, of course, I will be in a better position to ask for a reduction in pricing, keeping the product and services similar. And that counts in the industry, who is helping you during your bad time. So, travel policy need to be very agile. We mentioned about it, and think globally, interact more. So when you are talking to your counterparts in different countries, you get to know about their best practices, how they are handling that, if there are changing norms, especially during the international travel, how they are handling. For example, we were still late, and countries like Singapore, Switzerland, and a couple of other have opened up their airspaces totally. They said that, okay, even vaccination certificates are not required, RT-PCR reports are not required. My country has its own limitation, considering the density of population and all other aspect, XYZ. But when you talk and interact with people, especially on a global level, you get to know about certain things which maybe you are not thinking about. So I think if those things can be done and practiced by our participants and travel fraternity, I think we will be in a better place to handle in case another situation will come in future.
Fantastic. I think, Ankush, these are some really critical thought processes from you, which obviously all of us should incorporate as we create our new agile policies moving forward. So thank you very much. I think now we should open up the webinar for Q&A, and let's, Brijesh, if you can help us with questions that might have just come on the chat or the otherwise.
Sure, Ashish. A very big thank you to Ankush and you, Ashish, for giving us a very enlightening session on how the third wave has impacted business travel. We do have a few questions, and I would start with the very first one that we had received a little while ago. This I would pose to both Ankush and Ashish, and probably Ankush to give his response first before Ashish. And the question is, so this time with Omicron, organizations were more of pressing the pause button rather than the panic button. So do you think in the eventuality of future waves, will it be a similar situation, or will it move to a business as usual even during a COVID wave? What are your views?
I think overall, so it depends on the industry to industry, first of all. So if I talk about my scenario, I have major population who is into production kind of activities, and you need to go to office and start working from there. But overall, the business, if I talk about, yes, business is going to continue in a normal pace. I think we are not going to see another lockdown kind of scenario or something like that. people are going to take care. So I while doing the discussion with Ashish, I talked about now it's about how. So you will not look at why I should be opening the business. You should be looking at how I can continue to run my businesses. And that is the place where the whole game plan will change. You are not going to impact your economy. You are not going to impact your supply line, your distribution line, because at the end of the day, everything gets suffered. People will lose job, and there are another set of repercussions out of that if you are taking that call. So now I think the approach will be more towards how I can run the business rather than going for a long.
So I think there is few things which are going to take place, Brijesh. First, this disruption would become part of an organization's BCP, just like our NSC and every company has a BCP process, but not everybody used to have a BCP process. But now there will be a strong BCP process in place. That is one. And then we also know how the society at large would react to such crises. It may be a medical crisis, tomorrow it can be any other type of crisis. So whichever crisis would happen, at least this generation, we are looking at next 20 years, we are now attuned to how we will react to that. We will very quickly go back, depending upon the severity of crisis. Either we will very quickly go back to the lockdown stage and then come back very fast out of it, or we'll hit the pause button, hold ourselves in our houses for 2 weeks, and then come out again. So all I'm trying to say is both organizations are going to invest a lot in BCP programs, and it'll be just switch on and switch off. Okay, there is health issues or there's a severe climate issue. Let's quickly go back inside the house and run business as per BCP one. Uh, or if it's a milder, then let's continue. So I think organizations will invest a lot in building these multiple processes. And as humans, all of us have learned our lessons, and we will start reacting very quickly depending upon the environment around us.
Sure. Thank you, both Ankush and Ashish, for your responses. The next question is more to Ankush. You did mention about striking a balance between safety and cost in your takeaways, right? So this question is in those lines. So for business travel, earlier the priority for enterprises was cost reduction, or rather cost optimization. Now, how has that changed post-pandemic? What are the new drivers? Yes, safety could be one of those. Do you want to add anything more to that?
So not just safety, I would say overall, if I talk about the quality of services, that is going to be, at a different level now, and you are going to pay for it. Initially, you will not be looking at the cost, but then you will see that how best I can reduce that cost. You will first going to experience that product. You will take that feedback. You will measure it for some time, and then you will ask for what best we can, squeeze out of that kind of business relationship, what best discounts you can get. But at the initial phase, the more focus is towards, I mentioned safety. It is about more of quality. So you will talk about the location of the property, what all facilities you can get in-house, do I need to step out, what kind of facilities are there in that place, or be it airline, the airport you are going to visit, or your cab driver. So at all the levels, you are going to see that. And then you say that, okay, if I will be getting that, I need to either pay for that cost, or can I do the leverage kind of thing where I will do more amount of business and then ask for a discounting on my piece. So, but focus, yes, for another couple of years, it will be more towards quality and safety than cost.
Sure. Thank you, Ankush. The next question is for Ashish. Ashish, so there's a question which says, how does the digital transformation of organizations have, what would the impact be on employee travel in future?
So,
yeah.
As I've mentioned in the earlier conversations also, Pajesh, digitalization will get accelerated, and we are witnessing the acceleration of digital travel. Almost everybody is deploying self-booking tool, expense management systems. Organizations want better control. They want better visibility, not from the purely cost point of view, as Ankush said, but also from the visibility point of view. And they want to assess their travelers as much as possible digitally. Uh, from the user point of view, we've digitalized almost everything from food ordering to magazine reading to everything. We've now